Hello, welcome to this week's Package Registry Weekly Team Sync. Today is February 9th, 2023. We are still making good progress on getting our team syncs in order. So this is number 2 in the series. Last week I thought was really great where everyone introduced each other. So this week I wanted to announce that we did a really good job with our retrospectives async again. So if you want to check that out, I included a link so you could read everyone's retro if you hadn't already. And then working on the current weekly update, I wanted to just kind of put that out there and see if y'all had any feedback or things I should add. It's a work in progress until Friday, but welcome the iterative feedback. And I can pause there if anyone had comments or thoughts to add about the weekly update. Well, then we'll jump into one of the items in the weekly update, which is our current milestone, 15.9. And it looks like we're all on track to get everything closed by the 16th of February. I believe that's the right date. I'm getting a head nod from David, so good. So next week will be the last week to contribute to the current milestone. And there was one issue that didn't have an async update that seemed to be needing attention. So I made a comment on that, and it looks like Dima, you already added a comment as well. So you were thinking that Raul would be working on that one issue. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's why my thoughts. We already had a small discussion in this issue, and he proposed also, he found out there would be the need for backend changes, and then he also proposed the changes there. I think we quickly discussed them, and yeah, just clarified also on this issue with him if he will also can take would be willing to implement the backend part, or he would need some help, which I can say, yeah, will be willing to help.
Awesome. Okay. Well, we'll just keep an eye on that and see if he wants assistance. But thanks for your response. Anyone else have concerns with what is marked as a deliverable in their name that they are worried about? I think otherwise we're good. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have one. There's an issue about rolling out a feature flag. I will share a link. The problem is that during the production verification of that feature flag, I spotted a bug on the UI. So this feature flag enables a feature that uses a cascading setting, which means that you have a setting at the group level, but it is present in all groups in the chain of the hierarchy up to an application setting. So if this framework allows us to, if this setting doesn't have a value at this group, we will read the parent group and so on up until the application setting. And yesterday, during my production verification, I found an issue on that small framework that we have for those settings. So we can roll out the feature flag. There's an MR fixing that, but it's introducing a delay. So for now, I just bumped the health level to needs attention.
Awesome. Thank you for the update. And those things happen, but at least you caught it while testing, and our users are not going to see that. So thanks for the update. Any other thoughts about the current milestone that might affect the deliverables?
Not about the deliverables, but I have more general question. We mark issue with the check on the milestone issue. What does it mean? Is it like we working on that, or if it's like the issue is finished, or what this check is actually means.
So yeah, that comes from when we started with the milestone planning issues. The check was, I guess, we can change the meaning, but it was someone is working on that. So that when you need to pick another issue, you just check the milestone issue, and those with checks, you don't have to open them because there is already someone working on that. Now this can be changed because it's all manual. So this can be changed, of course. And if an issue is done, once you verify an issue, it should be closed. And since now we are linking the full title of the issue, you should be able to see the closed suffix at the end. So you know that that issue doesn't need to be worked on.
Thanks.
It's a great question, and thank you, David, for the answer. Any other questions about the current milestone or thoughts about our process on how we document? Go ahead.
Carrie, under quality for the first one, test Maven request forwarding, Sophia has moved it to backlog. Does this fall under the current milestone still?
So if it has a deliverable label is what we're looking for, and a package P1 label. Those are what we want to track. I don't think it has that, does it?
Yeah, it doesn't have that.
Okay, so then we don't have to report that it was slipped, but I guess that's a good question. In the future, we might want to mark those QA items as deliverables. I'll let you think about that, and we can iteratively change our processes as we go.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Cool. So the next topic is the upcoming milestone 15.10. It will be kicking off February 18th, 17th. One of those days. We'll go with that. And then as we want to prepare for the milestone, we want to make sure that everything marked as a deliverable has a weight associated to it. And if it doesn't, then I add the workflow refinement label. And those are issues that we want to review before the milestone kicks off. So there are 2 items currently marked with the refinement label. I guess it would be good, David, can you share your thoughts on how refinement usually goes in preparement for each milestone from your perspective?
Yeah, so refinement from engineers. We are expected to check the issue and check if it has a clear description, a clear scope, and a clear plan to move forward. That's the basic stuff. We should ping counterparts if we need them. For example, let's say that it's a documentation update. We should ping Clayton so that he's aware that there is work on that milestone for him. Once we have the scope, we need to evaluate the complexity of the issue, and that is what the weight means. So weight 1, 2, 3. We never go above 3. If we need to go above 3, then usually it's a flag that the issue needs to be split into different issues. It is too big. And lastly, labels. Once that everything is done, we can apply, I think it's workflow ready for development table. This whole thing happens without assigning the issue. So that's a discussion we are having with Kerry, which is as the team is growing, we don't want two engineers working on refining the same issue. That would be a waste of time. So yeah, we're thinking how to do this, how to signal that someone is refining an issue. Ideas welcome. So far, I think the best bet is perhaps using a new label to indicate that refining is ongoing. But we are still open to ideas.
And the important part about not wanting to assign anybody is that gives a signal that we're working on it to the larger community. And so if someone from the outside is looking at that issue, they might think, oh, it's already prioritized and getting ready to get started. But we don't want to give that impression because we might not have the capacity to get started on it anytime soon. We just want to see what the scope is and if it is possible to pull it in based on the analysis that's done. I think a label makes a lot of sense. I know that was a lot of information to process since we're a newish team. So I'll just pause for a moment to see if anybody has thoughts to add, if they like the idea or if they maybe have another idea.
I like this idea of having additional the separated label. Maybe it also can be grouped to workflow, like workflow refinement. Then maybe it also can be used by other teams. I don't know.
I think the double colons on workflow means it can only be one of those. So if you have it as workflow refinement, actually, I don't know if it uses the double colon or not.
It is.
Okay, so it can only be, if it's in workflow refinement, then it can't be another workflow status. So we would have to pick something different.
But I just thought that maybe if issue has label workflow refinement, then it shouldn't have another label workflow. And then we just, I mean, it's like prepare for development, right?
Maybe there is another label already. I'll have to look to see in refinement. Maybe that's one, workflow refinement. I'll check and we can take this offline. That's a really good idea though. And I'll see what it takes to propose a new workflow label as well. And I'll just capture that real quick. Does anyone else have any thoughts or ideas to add?
Yeah, I wanted to add two things. First, the refinement on an issue should be time boxed, in the sense that you don't want to spend like a full day to refine one issue. That's not the idea. It's just to get a feeling of the scope, the description, and the complexity. And the other thing, well, perhaps we could change that, but the idea was the engineer that does the refinement doesn't mean that it will get the implementation. It's just okay. It's just confirming that the issue is ready to be worked on, and that's it. But that doesn't mean that it will be the same member that will be working on that issue.
That's a great points. Thank you for adding those.
If we're not assigning an issue, how do we record who is doing the refining on the issue, and where do we record it?
I think that's the idea of this proposed label, but it isn't really clear who's doing it. So that is a good question. I guess you can see who added that label. But is it important to know who's doing that? Would that be a good Um, maybe a comment on the issue? I'm not sure. That's a good question, though. Something to think about.
I guess it makes sense if we're trying to ensure that the refinement load is evenly distributed. But if unless that is not an objective, an immediate objective, then I guess just the label is good enough.
I appreciate y'all letting me type and having the silence in the meeting. It's also a good time to process what we're talking about. I think we can iteratively work on this. So I'll pause here on this conversation. Y'all presented a lot of good feedback, and maybe I'll turn this into an issue and we can continue the discussion async there for the next steps. Okay, so next topic is team discussion section. I wanted to kind of take an opportunity in our weekly team syncs to talk about maybe a value or a part of GitLab that we want to all incorporate. And so this week I wanted to talk about meeting attendance being optional. I included a link, and I'll link it in the video as well, but there is a part of our company culture is to make meeting attendance optional. And I want to share some tips and tricks from my perspective, and then open up the discussion to hear other people's ideas on what they think about our approach to meetings. So from my perspective, all meetings should have an agenda with a purpose, or the meeting should be canceled. And I want to remind you that it is okay to not attend this meeting and all meetings in general. But if you aren't able to attend a meeting, for this meeting, if you could add your name beforehand to the not attending list, if able, and then contribute to the agenda asynchronous, that will allow your voice to be included in the conversation when we have the meeting as a group. Also, look for the recording afterwards if you want to see the discussion at a later time. And we have a new package registry group playlist that will get included on YouTube. And then also, if you are not getting value from the meeting, it is okay to leave at any time. And I will not take offense if you just drop off. I trust that you're making the best decision for you and the time that you have to do things. So this is definitely different than a lot of other places. So I wanted to remind everybody that this is optional, and async contributions are completely acceptable. I know we have some people here that it's quite late for them. And so it's just a good topic. I also found an article that was written by another EM here at GitLab, and I'll put a link to that in the recording as well. But he shared his experience about going async for a week. He had expressed in that article he felt like he needed to play catch up and had too much going on. So he posted for a week that he would be doing everything async and was able to catch up. And that is definitely allowed. And if you ever feel like you want to do that, feel free. just give us a communication through Slack to let us know that you'll be doing that. And just wanted to share that article. I thought that was really interesting. Those are my thoughts about our meetings and the approach that GitLab takes to attendance. Does anybody else want to add any additional thoughts?
I would say that it is even okay to attend the meeting and be working on something else. That's something I often see, and there is no offense from that. It is totally okay. So something to have in mind.
I agree 100%, and thank you for bringing that point up. Any other things that people want to add that are good to remember? Cool. Well, without further ado, we'll end it here and continue on with a little bit of a team building exercise offline. So thanks all. Hold on just a second.